Some friendships begin with a hello. Mine began with a photograph. A photograph of me, taken by someone I didn't know, from a place they shouldn't have been. I was 6 years old when it started. We had this project in kindergarten. Our teacher handed out balloons and asked us to write letters. Simple ones. Name, age, favorite color, favorite animal. Then we'd tie them to the balloons, let them go, and see if someone far away would write back. I was excited. I still remember what I wrote. Hi, my name is David. I'm 6 years old. I like dinosaurs and peanut butter sandwiches. I drew a little green dinosaur in the corner. We went outside and released our balloons together. A whole class full of dreams floating into the sky. I forgot about it a few days later, like most kids would. But then, something came in the mail. It wasn't a letter. It was a photograph. A photo of me, standing in my front yard, holding the balloon string. Taken from across the street, from behind the trees. There was no return address. No note. No handwriting. Just the photo, and the fact that someone knew where I lived. My mom thought it was a joke. Maybe a neighbor having fun, or a coincidence. But even at 6, something in my stomach turned. There was a coldness to it. A week later, another photo arrived. This time, I was playing on my tricycle in the driveway. Then another, me, asleep in bed. The window slightly open. The photo was taken from outside the house, just behind a hedge. That one made my mom cry. She locked all the windows after that. We didn't call the police. I don't know why. Maybe because there was no clear threat, just a growing sense of unease. A creeping shadow that never showed its face. Over the next few months, the photos kept coming. Sometimes I was brushing my teeth. Sometimes watching cartoons. Sometimes just staring out the window, completely unaware someone was staring back. They were always taken from outside, far away, just out of reach. Then, they stopped. No warning. No goodbye. Just silence. Years passed. I started thinking maybe it was a joke. Maybe my mom was right, maybe it was over. Then came my 10th birthday. We had a sleepover in the backyard, just me and 2 of my best friends, Tyler and Marcus. We pitched a tent, roasted marshmallows, and stayed up late telling ghost stories with flashlights under our chins. It was perfect. Until around 2:30 a.m. Tyler was the first to hear it, a soft snap from the trees. He peeked out of the tent flap and froze. Then he screamed. We all scrambled out, hearts racing. He said he saw someone, standing between the trees, holding something that reflected in the moonlight. A camera, maybe. We grabbed flashlights and searched, yelling into the night. But we didn't find anyone. What we did find, was a photograph. It was tucked under the edge of the tent. It showed the 3 of us, sleeping. Taken from just outside the fabric wall, hours before. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, we told my mom. She made calls, but again, nothing happened. No suspects, no follow-up. That night, I asked her the question I'd been too afraid to ask all these years. Did more photos come after the first few? She hesitated. Then she nodded, and walked to her bedroom. She pulled a shoebox from the top of the closet and set it in front of me. Inside were dozens of photographs. Some old, some new. Some I'd never seen. Me at the mall. Me in the school parking lot. Me walking home with my backpack on. Even photos of me and my mom, inside our house, taken through the living room window. I started flipping through them, faster and faster, until my hands were shaking. Then I saw one that made everything stop. It was a photo of my kindergarten classroom. I was in the front row, drawing dinosaurs. But in the back of the photo, just barely in frame, there was a man standing by the coat rack. Tall. Wearing a dark hat. And smiling. He wasn't supposed to be there. But once I saw him, I started noticing him in more photos. In the background of a park shot. Reflected in the glass door of a diner. Peeking from behind the curtain in my bedroom window. Always in the distance. Always watching. Always getting closer. He never left a note. Never made contact. Never crossed the line. He didn't have to. He just watched. And for years, I never knew. I thought I had a pen pal. But what I really had was a predator. I didn't believe in monsters. Not the ones under the bed. Not the ones hiding in the closet. And definitely not the kind people whispered about on internet forums at 3 a.m. That changed the night I met the Rake. It started with strange sounds in the house. Scratching. Low, soft scratching, like nails being dragged across wood. I checked the walls, the floorboards, even under my bed. Nothing. Then came the smell. Rotting meat. Sour and metallic, like old blood in the back of your throat. I cleaned the kitchen top to bottom. Checked the trash. Even called an exterminator. They found nothing. And then came the voice. I woke up one night to a whisper. It wasn't clear. Just breath. Like someone exhaling right beside my ear. But when I opened my eyes, there was no one there. The room was still. Too still. Even the clock on the wall had stopped ticking. I convinced myself it was stress. Work had been piling up. Late nights. Too much caffeine. Not enough sleep. That's all it was. Until my dog stopped sleeping in my room. He used to curl up at the foot of my bed, every night without fail. But suddenly, he'd sit in the hallway, growling at the doorway, teeth bared, tail tucked. One night, he wouldn't stop barking. I got out of bed, angry, ready to scold him. But when I looked out into the hall, he was backing away from my bedroom door. Whimpering. I turned around slowly. And that's when I saw it. Something crouched in the corner of the room. At first, I thought it was a shadow, the shape didn't make sense. But then it moved. Long, thin arms. Pale, almost translucent skin stretched too tightly over its bones. Its body was twisted, like it didn't know how to stand like a human or move like an animal. And its eyes. They were empty. Black holes in its face, but I knew it was looking at me. Then it scurried. Not walked. Scurried, on all fours, like an insect, straight across the wall and out the window. I didn't sleep after that. Couldn't. I started researching. Looking for similar stories. Surely someone, somewhere, had seen what I'd seen. And that's when I found the name. The Rake. A creature whispered about in old internet threads. People described it differently, gaunt, pale, hairless. Always crawling. Always watching. Always silent. Until it wasn't. There were reports going back decades. All eerily similar. People waking up with the feeling of being watched. Whispers. The smell. And sometimes, if they were unlucky, they'd see it at the foot of their bed. Sometimes for seconds. Sometimes for hours. Just staring. One story stuck with me. A woman woke up to see the rake sitting on her chest. It leaned down and whispered her name. Then vanished. She died 3 days later in a car accident. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself it was an urban legend. An online ghost story. Until it came back. 3:41 a.m. I woke up gasping. Room freezing. And I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis, I thought. I'd read about it. But then I saw it. The rake. Standing near the door. Head tilted. Breathing. Not loud, no. The breathing was subtle, shallow, like it didn't need to breathe, but did it anyway, to mock me. And then, it started moving toward me. Slow at first. Then faster. Each movement jerky, unnatural, like a puppet without strings. I tried to scream. I couldn't. My voice was gone, throat locked. It stopped just inches from my face. I smelled the rot. The blood. I felt its breath. Hot, damp, unnatural. And then, it whispered. But not in words. It whispered thoughts into my head. Memories that weren't mine. Pain. Fear. Darkness so deep it felt like drowning. Then, like a switch, I passed out. When I woke up, the sun was rising. My dog was gone. I found him the next day, in the backyard. No blood. No wounds. Just, dead. Eyes wide open. Like he'd seen something that shouldn't exist. I don't know why it chose me. I don't know what it wants. But every night, at exactly 3:41 a.m., I wake up. And wait. Because I know. It's coming back. It started with a dream. At least, I thought it was a dream. I was lying in bed, scrolling on my phone like I always do before sleep. The room was dark, the only light coming from the screen. At some point, my eyes grew heavy, and I must have drifted off. Then something changed. I didn't hear anything. Didn't feel anything. But I knew I wasn't alone. I opened my eyes, slowly. There was a boy standing at the foot of my bed. He was small, maybe 8 or 9 years old. But something was wrong with his head. It was dented. Crushed on the right side, like part of his skull had collapsed inward. Not like an injury. Like a deformity, old, rotted, healed badly. A part of him that had never been right. He stared at me, unmoving. Eyes blank. Face expressionless. Just, watching. Then he turned and walked out of the room. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just lay there, frozen, heart hammering in my chest. When I woke up the next morning, I told myself it was just a nightmare. A vivid one, sure, but just a dream. Stress. Too much late-night caffeine and creepy YouTube videos. But the next night, he came back. This time, he got closer. He didn't walk. He just appeared, standing next to the bed, staring down at me. That's when he spoke. His voice was dry. Flat. Emotionless. He said, "My name is David." Then, just as calmly, he said, "You can ask me 2 questions, if you say, 'Dear David,' first. But only 2. If you ask a third, I'll kill you. I sat up in bed, heart racing. He was gone. No sound. No exit. Just vanished. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I tried to forget about it. But it clung to me. That name. That rule. 2 questions. Say, Dear David. No third question. It played on a loop in my head. That night, curiosity got the better of me. When David returned, I decided to test it. I took a breath and said, Dear David, how did you die? He stood still. Then answered, An accident, in a store. I swallowed hard. Dear David, what kind of accident? He replied, A shelf was pushed. It fell on my head. Then, without thinking, I asked the third question. Who pushed the shelf? He said nothing. But his face twisted. His mouth curled into something not quite human. And then, he vanished again. The moment I asked that third question without thinking, the air changed. It felt heavier. Like the walls were breathing. I didn't sleep for days after that. Lights in my apartment began to flicker. My cats, usually calm and lazy, started sitting at the front door every night at the same time, staring into the hallway like something was waiting there. Meowing. Not out of hunger, but warning. Then the photos started. I'd wake up to find my phone had taken dozens of pictures overnight. All black. Except a few. In those, I could make out the faint outline of a boy standing at the foot of my bed. Sometimes in the hallway. Sometimes, closer. One photo showed him perched on the edge of the bed, bent over me. Eyes inches from mine. Skull crushed. Face blank. I started waking up with scratches on my arms. Small ones at first. Then deeper. I moved my bed away from the wall. Closed the closet every night. Left the lights on. Still, he came. And he wasn't just in the apartment anymore. He was in reflections. In windows. In mirrors behind me. Sometimes just for a second, a flash of movement. But it was always him. Then came the note. I found it taped to the inside of my fridge door. I never put it there. I live alone. It was written in crayon. The handwriting shaky. Childish. It said, You asked 3 questions. That night, I heard whispers in every room. Not loud. Not angry. Just present. Whispers that followed me from the hallway to the kitchen to the bathroom mirror. I haven't spoken to anyone about it since. I don't say his name. I don't even think it, if I can help it. I keep every light on. Sleep with the TV running. Cover every reflective surface. But I still see him. Always just out of focus. Always, waiting. I broke the rule. And now I live with the consequence. I've explored caves for most of my adult life. Not as a thrill seeker. Not for fame. Just for the quiet. The silence underground is different. It's not like the silence of your bedroom at night, or the calm before a storm. It's deeper, older. It feels like the earth is holding its breath. That's why I never should have gone back into the cave behind the ridge. We found it years ago. A small entrance in a limestone wall, barely wide enough to fit a body through. My buddy B and I explored it on a lazy Sunday. Nothing fancy. Just a few tight tunnels, the usual moisture, some harmless bats. But at the far end of one of the narrowest passages, there was a crack in the rock. Thin. Barely noticeable. Maybe 6 inches across. But when we leaned close, we felt it. Air. Moving. Cold. From the other side. That's not normal. In caves, dead ends are supposed to be dead. Air doesn't just move on its own. It has to come from somewhere. We marked it on the map and came back the next weekend, this time with hammers, chisels, drills. The crack resisted. It was like the cave didn't want to be opened. But over a few trips, we chipped away enough rock to make a crawlspace. Still tight. Still dangerous. But just wide enough to slide through. The first time I crawled in, I felt wrong. Not scared. Not nervous. Just wrong. Like I had entered a room I was never supposed to see. The space opened into a narrow vertical shaft. We called it the drop. Ropes down. Flashlights on. Still no bottom in sight. We came back again. And again. The deeper we went, the stranger things became. We found markings on the walls, not carvings, but grooves. Like something had clawed its way along the rock. Over and over. Thin lines. Too deliberate to be erosion. Then there were the sounds. Low vibrations. Not seismic. Not wind. Just noise. Like something huge shifting far below. On our 5th trip, something happened. We brought a recorder to capture our descent. Standard practice, audio logs, environmental readings, safety protocol. About 30 minutes into the crawl, the recorder picked up something we didn't hear at the time. Whispering. Not in English. Not in any language I've heard. Just soft syllables, circling in the dark. Repetitive. Almost like a chant. That night, B had a panic attack in his sleep. He said he dreamt of being trapped. His body crushed under stone. A presence crawling over him, thin fingers, breath like dirt. He never went back after that. But I did. Alone. I needed to know. The last time I entered the cave, everything was different. The tunnel felt tighter. The air thicker. The walls seemed to breathe. Like the cave wasn't a place anymore. It was alive. I dropped into the chamber we'd named the cathedral, tall ceiling, strange acoustics, completely dark. I turned on my light. There were new markings. Symbols. Not random. Patterns, in a spiral, leading deeper into a part of the cave we'd never reached. And then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. Something else, slow, shallow, behind me. I spun around. Nothing. But the temperature dropped. I could see my breath. That shouldn't happen in limestone caves. Then my flashlight flickered. Total blackness. I stood still. Afraid to move. Even more afraid not to. The breathing grew louder. Not closer, just louder. I took one step forward. And the ground gave way. I fell, maybe 15, 20 feet, straight down into another chamber. My leg twisted on impact. The flashlight hit the rocks and shattered. I was alone. Trapped. In the dark. 4 hours. I lay there. At some point, I heard it crawling above me. Soft scratching. Long limbs. In no hurry. It didn't speak. Didn't touch me. It just stayed, right outside the edge of my hearing. Listening. Eventually, I passed out from the pain. When I woke up, I was outside the cave. In my car. Parked the same place I'd left it. My recorder was on the passenger seat. Still running. The last minute of audio is just static. And then a voice. A whisper. It says, "You shouldn't have opened it." I haven't gone back since. I barely sleep. I can't be in the dark anymore. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still feel the air from that crack in the wall, cold, unnatural. Still breathing. Like it's waiting for me to come back. It was supposed to be my last shift. I'd been working as an overnight DJ at a small-town radio station in southern Illinois. Graveyard shift. Midnight to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. No live calls, no guests, just music, weather updates, and the occasional scripted ad spot. Most nights were quiet. Boring, even. The kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat between songs. But not that night. Not on my last broadcast. It was 2:13 a.m. when the phone rang. Now, normally, the call-in line was disabled during overnights. No giveaways, no interviews. But I guess someone flipped the wrong switch before they left, because it lit up like a Christmas tree. I paused the playlist and picked up. KBRX, 101.7, "You're on the air," I said, expecting a prank or a drunk college kid. But the voice on the other end. It wasn't either. It was a man. Older. His voice raspy, like someone who'd smoked for 50 years but never exhaled. He didn't say hello. He just said, "You're not supposed to be here." I chuckled nervously. "Excuse me. You should have gone home. The broadcast was meant to end yesterday." "What broadcast?" Silence. Then a click. He hung up. I sat there, staring at the receiver like it had just cursed me. Weird, sure. But not the weirdest call I'd ever gotten. I moved on. Played the next set. But a few minutes later, it rang again. Same line. I hesitated, then answered. "KBRX, go ahead." This time it was a woman. Her voice trembled like she was freezing. She whispered, "He's listening now. You shouldn't answer anymore." "Ma'am, is this a prank? He's not human." Then she hung up too. I checked the caller ID log. No numbers. Just, "unknown," stamped across both entries. At this point, I was a little shaken, but I've heard stranger things at this job. Or so I thought. At 2:27 a.m., the station's emergency lights flickered. We'd had power surges before, but this was different. The lights didn't just flicker, they pulsed. In rhythm. Like a heartbeat. The broadcast software crashed. The screen went dark. The music cut out. But the mic stayed live. I didn't even press anything. I could hear static in my headphones, and underneath it, a sound. Breathing. Not mine. It was slow. Deliberate. Like something was standing right behind me. I spun around. Empty booth. But the studio glass. It was fogging up from the inside. Like someone had exhaled on it. I stood up, heart pounding. The hallway beyond the glass was dark. The lights had gone out there too. Then the monitors flashed back on. But the playlist was gone. Instead, an audio file appeared on the desktop. Last_broadcast.wave. I didn't download it. It wasn't there before. The timestamp said, 2:29 a.m. I hovered over it for a second, then double-clicked. What played wasn't music. It was my own voice. But not Liv. It was me, reading something, some kind of transcript. I heard myself say, "I didn't make it out of the station. I tried. God knows I tried. But the doors wouldn't open, and the phones wouldn't dial. And whatever that thing is, it knows I'm still here." I froze. That wasn't a recording I ever made. Then the audio continued. "If someone's hearing this, don't answer the call. Don't listen to it. Don't let it in." Suddenly the phone rang again. Same line. I didn't want to pick up. Everything in me screamed not to. But I did. This time, it wasn't a voice. It was noise. Distorted. Reverse audio. Like someone speaking backwards in slow motion. Then, clear as day, I heard my name. Ethan. No one knew I was working that shift. Not my friends. Not my family. I hadn't even told the boss I was covering. But the voice said it again. "Ethan, behind you." I dropped the phone. Didn't even look back. Just grabbed my keys and bolted. But when I reached the exit, the doors wouldn't budge. Security locks were active. Even the fire exits. I was locked in. Trapped. The monitors lit up again. This time, showing a live feed. Security cameras from the station. Every hallway was dark, except one. Something was moving through it. Not walking. Dragging. I could hear it, metal on tile. Screech, pause, screech, pause. Like it was pulling something heavy. The feed switched cameras. It was closer now. A tall figure. Thin. No face. Just a void where a head should have been. And arms, longer than they should be. The phone rang again. And again. And again. Each time, a new file appeared on the computer. Each one labeled, last_broadcast_020304. I stopped counting after 10. The final file autoplayed. It said, "He speaks through the signal. Through static. Through fear. The more you listen, the more he becomes real." I unplugged everything. Computer. Mixer. Main breaker. The power dropped. Silence. But the mic was still live. I could hear the breathing again. Closer now. So close, I could feel it in my bones. That's when I saw it. My reflection on the black glass of the studio window. But I wasn't moving. And I wasn't alone. Something stood behind me. Smiling. I was found the next morning by the morning DJ. Passed out on the floor, with the power off and the mic still hot. The files? Gone. The call logs? Wiped. But the voicemail line? It had one message. Timestamped at 2:30 a.m. A man's voice. The same one from the first call. He said, "It's your turn now, Jason." I never told anyone my real name on air. I lived in a quiet part of Seattle, low crime, walkable, and boring in the best way. I was never the adventurous type, but I did have one bad habit. Late night walks. It started as a way to clear my head. I'd throw in my earbuds, listen to a podcast, and stroll through the neighborhood, usually around 1 or 2 a.m. No traffic, no people, just me and the empty streets. It was peaceful. Until one night, it wasn't. That night, I wasn't listening to music. My phone had died mid-episode, so it was just me and the sound of my footsteps on the damp pavement. I was 3 blocks from home when I saw him. A man. Standing under a flickering streetlight across the road. He was facing away from me at first, tall, lanky, wearing a dark suit that looked a size too big for him. Nothing unusual, until he turned around. And smiled. Not a casual grin. A full, exaggerated smile. Teeth bared, lips stretched unnaturally wide. I slowed down, confused. Then he started walking. Not toward me. No. He started dancing. A weird, shuffling, almost puppet-like dance. Like someone trying to imitate a waltz while having a seizure. His arms moved like he had no bones, floppy and limp, his legs bending too far at the knees. But the smile never changed. Frozen. Huge. Empty. He danced toward the middle of the street, under the light, spinning slowly like he was in some private performance. There was no music. Just the sound of his shoes scraping the concrete. I stopped walking. Instinct screamed at me to turn back, but I didn't want to show fear. So I kept going, slowly, trying not to look directly at him. But I could feel his eyes on me. I crossed the street, putting a row of parked cars between us, and picked up my pace. 2 blocks to go. Almost home. That's when I heard the footsteps. Behind me. Fast. I looked back. He wasn't dancing anymore. He was walking now, quick, deliberate, still smiling. Still smiling. I turned the corner and started to run. Not a sprint, just fast enough to put distance between us without drawing attention. I didn't want to seem afraid, but my chest was tightening with panic. Another glance over my shoulder. He was closer. Not running. Just walking. But somehow, keeping up. That smile never broke. It was like it wasn't even part of his face, like it had been drawn on. Too wide, too still, too wrong. I was 1 block from my building now. Lights ahead. My apartment just around the bend. I cut through a narrow alley behind a closed coffee shop. I'd never used that route before, but it was faster. The second I stepped into the dark alley, I regretted it. There was no sound. No footsteps. No breathing. I slowed down, trying to listen. Nothing. I turned around, he was gone. The street behind me was empty. I waited a beat, then took off again, cutting through to my building's back entrance. My key fumbled in the lock for what felt like forever. Finally, the door opened. I stepped inside and slammed it shut. I went straight to my window, pulled back the curtain, and there he was. Standing across the street. Still smiling. Still watching. He didn't move. Not even a blink. I stood frozen, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Then slowly, so slowly, he raised his hand. And waved. A small, delicate, childlike wave. And then, he danced. A little shuffle in place. And vanished into the dark. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I filed a report with the police. They told me unless a crime was committed, there was nothing they could do. A man dancing on the street wasn't illegal. Even if he was terrifying. I changed my route after that. Stopped walking at night. But I still saw him. Once in a while. Across the street. In the park. Outside a gas station at 3 a.m. when I stopped for snacks. Always just watching. Always smiling. He never approached. He never spoke. But he never stopped smiling. One night, months later, I was coming home late from a friend's place. I took an Uber to be safe. We pulled up to my building and the driver turned to me and said, "You okay?" "Yeah, why?" "There was some guy watching us the last 2 blocks. Thought he might have been following." I looked behind us. Nothing. No one. But I didn't sleep again that night. The last time I saw him, I was in a different city. Visiting my cousin in Portland. A different state. Hundreds of miles away. It was 10 p.m. I was walking back to her apartment from a corner store. There was a street performer near the fountain. A man in a suit. Dancing. Slow, strange, jerky movements. Too tall. Too thin. And smiling. He didn't say anything. He just tipped his hat as I passed. I never went out after dark again. When I was about 9 years old, I almost got taken by a man named Dr. Ramsey. We lived in a mid-sized city in Tennessee. It was me, my little brother, and my mom. She worked 2 jobs to support us, so most of the time we were left with our elderly neighbor, Miss Maggie, who babysat us after school. Our routine was simple: homework, cartoons, and peanut butter sandwiches until Mom came back late in the evening. It all started the day I brought home a school flyer with my name on it. It wasn't printed by the school. It was handwritten. Neatly. In cursive. It said, "Free dental checkups for 3rd to 5th graders. Dr. Ramsey is accepting patients at our school next week." And at the bottom, in red ink, "Ask for Thomas by name." That was me. Thomas. I asked Miss Maggie if she knew anything about it, and she squinted at the paper. "School never does checkups without sending a note for parents to sign," she said. She crumpled it and threw it in the trash. But the next day, there he was. A man in a white lab coat, standing just outside the school fence. He was tall, thin, with big glasses and silver hair combed to the side. He had a clipboard and a briefcase. When he saw me, he smiled. Wide. Too wide. And waved. I didn't wave back. Later that week, I saw him again, this time at the gas station near our apartment. Same coat. Same smile. He didn't approach. He just watched. That night, I told Mom, and she got serious. She called the school the next morning. They said no dentist named Dr. Ramsey had been scheduled. No dental day. No free checkups. Nothing. That's when things got scary. One evening, we were walking home from Miss Maggie's after sunset. My little brother was dragging his feet, and I was half asleep. Mom was unlocking the front door when I glanced across the street. There, under the flickering porch light of a vacant house, stood Dr. Ramsey. Just standing there. His white coat glowing in the streetlight. His mouth stretched into that same awful smile. I remember my mom grabbing me by the arm so hard I yelped. She pushed us inside and slammed the door. Then she called the police. They said they'd send a cruiser to check the area. But when they came, the man was gone. There were no footprints. No tire tracks. Just a feeling. A lingering chill that soaked the air. Over the next few weeks, he started appearing more often. Outside the schoolyard. Near our apartment. Once, I saw him standing in the alley behind our building, just beyond the reach of the security lights. Watching. Always watching. Never saying a word. One day, Miss Maggie told us something that chilled me deeper than anything. She said she'd gotten a call that morning from someone claiming to be my uncle. He said I was sick and needed to be picked up from school. She almost believed him. Until she remembered, I didn't have an uncle. Not one who knew where we lived. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours, heart racing, afraid to close my eyes. Just before midnight, I heard a soft tapping. Not at the front door. At my bedroom window. Tap. 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 I froze. Our apartment was on the second floor. There shouldn't have been anyone outside. I crept to the window and peeked through the curtain. He was there. Dr. Ramsey. Standing on the fire escape, inches from the glass. His smile wider than ever. Lips pulled so tight I could see his gums. He didn't knock. He just raised a finger, and traced a circle on the window. Slowly. Over and over. Like he was drawing something invisible. I stumbled back, screamed, and ran to wake my mom. By the time she came in, he was gone. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They searched the fire escape, but there were no fingerprints. No footprints. Just a single item left behind on the windowsill. A plastic dental mirror. The next day, Mom pulled us out of school. She had us stay with her cousin 3 towns over, in a place far enough away to feel safe. For weeks, we didn't come back. Eventually, life returned to normal. We thought we were done with him. We weren't. 2 years later, we moved back to the city, different neighborhood, new school. I was in 6th grade. Older. Smarter. But I still hadn't forgotten his face. One afternoon, I came home and found an envelope taped to our door. No return address. Inside was a single note. Still waiting for your checkup. Dr. Ramsey. I dropped it and screamed. Mom called the police again. They took the note as evidence, but nothing came of it. They never found him. Never caught him. Eventually, the calls stopped. The sightings ended. I moved on with my life. But every now and then, when I walk home late at night, I feel it again. That sensation of being watched. Like someone is still out there, smiling. Waiting. It was a Friday night like any other. My parents had gone out for a late dinner downtown, and I had the house to myself. I was 16. Still in that awkward phase where I loved the idea of independence, but when left alone too long, I'd start jumping at shadows. It was around 9:45 p.m. when I settled in with popcorn and a horror movie, something ironic about watching jump scares when you're already half on edge. The house was dark except for the glow of the TV, and the wind outside was pushing tree branches against the siding in soft, rhythmic creaks. Nothing unusual. Until the knocking started. 3 soft taps. Not the front door. Not the back. It sounded like it came from the side of the house. Near the kitchen. I paused the movie, muted the TV, and listened. Silence. Probably the wind, I told myself. Or maybe a raccoon on the trash bins. Still, I grabbed my phone and walked slowly to the kitchen window. The porch light was already on, but I couldn't see anything out of place. Shrugging it off, I returned to the couch, pressed play, and tried to pretend the popcorn didn't suddenly taste like cardboard. 15 minutes later, I went to refill my drink. That's when I saw it. On the front door window, written in large black letters. Look at me. My heart froze. It wasn't paint. It was Sharpie, written across the glass from the outside. My first instinct was to scream, but nothing came out. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. No headlights. No cars passing. I stepped back, phone in hand, heart thundering. I texted my mom. Is anyone supposed to come by tonight? 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. No reply. I locked the deadbolt, twice, drew the curtains, and turned off all the lights except one in the hallway. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone from school. But deep down, I knew better. I didn't sleep. I sat in the hallway with the kitchen knife in one hand and my phone in the other, waiting for my parents to come home. Around 11:20, the knocking returned. This time, louder. Slower. And from a different side of the house. Tap, tap, tap. I crept toward the back door, heart beating so fast I felt dizzy. The porch light flickered once, then went out. Then came the whispering. Barely audible. Just on the other side of the door. Look at me. I backed away. Hands shaking. Then it came again, this time clearer. Male voice. Raspy. Almost gentle. Look at me. I dialed 911. The operator picked up immediately, and I tried to keep my voice steady. There's someone outside. He wrote something on the door. He's knocking. Whispering. She told me to stay calm. Lock myself in a room. Officers were en route. I ran to the hallway closet, small, tight, but safe. I shut the door behind me and curled into the corner. Seconds felt like hours. Then, footsteps. On the porch. Then by the window. I held my breath. SRRPPP. The sound of a marker. On glass. He was writing again. SRRP, SRRP. Then silence. Then whispering. This time, not just at the door. From the side window too. From the living room. Look at me. How many voices was that? Was he alone? Red and blue lights flooded the living room. I heard sirens, a car door slam, and then heavy boots on the porch. The whispering stopped. The writing stopped. The officers banged on the door and announced themselves. When I came out, shaking, crying, they were already inside. Guns drawn. Flashlights scanning the yard. But he was gone. No sign of forced entry. No footprints. No vehicle. Just Sharpie ink smeared across every window of the house. Not just, look at me. But over and over. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Why won't you look at me? I saw you first. On every glass surface. One officer pulled me aside. He looked pale. Did you know this guy? I shook my head. He handed me a plastic evidence bag. Inside. A used black Sharpie. And a knife. They never found him. My parents installed security cameras the next day. We replaced every window. Got a dog. I couldn't sleep without a light on for months. I never saw him again. But every once in a while, when I pass a store window at night, I think I hear it. Just behind the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Look at me. It was around 10:45 p.m. on a cold October night when the knock came. I was alone, watching TV in my small 2-bedroom apartment just outside Abilene, Texas. My dog, Max, had already curled up beside the couch, and I had turned off all but one lamp. The soft hum of the TV was the only sound in the room. Then, 3 knocks. Not frantic. Not loud. Just, slow. Intentional. I paused, looked toward the front door, and waited. I wasn't expecting anyone. The porch light was off, and no car had pulled into the driveway. Max growled. Low. Deep. He stood up, ears perked, tail stiff. He'd never done that before. Not even when delivery drivers came by. I got up, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. 2 kids. Maybe 10 or 11 years old. A boy and a girl. They were standing side by side, wearing oversized hoodies, their heads slightly tilted downward. Their hands were at their sides. And they weren't moving. Just, standing there. I didn't open the door. Instead, I spoke through it. Can I help you? Silence. Then the boy spoke. His voice was flat. Cold. We need to use your phone, he said. Please let us in. Our mother will worry. The girl looked up, her face pale and oddly blank. It won't take long, she said. We can't come in unless you say it's okay. I froze. There was something deeply wrong about their tone. Too calm. Too rehearsed. And that's when I saw their eyes. They were completely black. No whites. No pupils. No irises. Just voids. Pitch black holes where eyes should have been. I stumbled back from the door, adrenaline flooding my chest. Max barked, violently, and ran to the other side of the room, something he'd never done before. He didn't stand guard. He hid. The boy knocked again. Please, he said. We won't hurt you. Let us in. I didn't answer. Instead, I locked the deadbolt, backed up to the hallway, and grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. I called 911 and whispered what was happening. The dispatcher asked if I could still see them. I crept back to the peephole. They were still there. But now, they were smiling. Wide, unnatural smiles that didn't match their words or voices. The girl tilted her head further and whispered something I'll never forget. We can't come in unless you invite us. I slammed the blinds shut and backed away. The dispatcher said an officer was 5 minutes out. I waited in the hallway, clutching a kitchen knife, not that I thought it would help. Max didn't move. He just whimpered quietly in the corner. When the police arrived and knocked, I peeked through the blinds. The kids were gone. Completely vanished. The officer searched the property. No footprints. No signs anyone had even been there. The porch camera. Dead. The entire footage from 10:40 to 11 o'clock was black. Just static. I posted the story to Reddit later that week, wondering if anyone had experienced something similar. The replies flooded in. Yes. Others had seen them. Always at night. Always 2 or 3 kids. Always asking to be let in. Always with black eyes. Some people said they let them in. Those who did, never posted again. A few weeks later, I received a plain envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. Blurry. Of my front porch. From the angle of someone standing just outside the door. And on the back, scribbled in marker. Let us in next time. I moved 3 months later. But sometimes, just after midnight. I swear I hear them again. Tap, tap, tap. Please. Let us in. It happened 2 years ago. I was 19, living alone in a small one-bedroom apartment in Memphis. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, but it was what I could afford. My building was old, creaky, and half empty, but I liked the independence. I had just gotten home from my evening shift at a local diner. It was around 11:30 p.m., and I was exhausted. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and poured myself a glass of water. I remember locking the front door like I always did, deadbolt and chain, and double-checking the window latches. I was paranoid, especially living alone, so I had a routine. Lock everything. Pull the curtains. Turn on the hallway lamp. Everything seemed normal. Until I noticed it. The hallway light switch was flipped off. I always left it on before work. Always. I froze. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I didn't. I stepped into the hallway and turned the light back on. The bulb flickered once, then glowed steady. My heart was thumping harder than it should have. Trying to calm myself, I walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge to grab something to eat. But the milk was already on the counter. Not where I left it. Not where it should be. That's when I knew I wasn't alone. I stood there, back pressed against the refrigerator, staring down the hallway. I didn't hear anything. No footsteps. No creaking floorboards. No sound of breathing. But I felt it. That sense you get when someone is behind you, even if they're not moving. I reached into the drawer and grabbed the only thing I had, a rusted old steak knife. My hands were sweating. My legs shaking. I crept down the hallway toward the bathroom and bedroom doors. Closed. Both of them. I always left my bedroom door open. Always. I took a step forward, and the floor beneath me groaned. Loud. Like a scream. And from behind the bedroom door, I heard it. A single cough. Short. Human. Male. Someone was in my room. I backed away slowly and ran for my phone. No signal. Of course. I rushed to the living room and yanked open the curtains, thinking I could scream to a neighbor or flash a light outside. But the windows had been covered. From the inside. Blankets pinned up with duct tape. I didn't do that. I never did that. Then I saw it, just near the window frame. A set of muddy footprints. Coming in from the fire escape. They weren't mine. I wanted to scream. Wanted to run. But I was frozen in place, every nerve in my body telling me not to move. To breathe quieter. To be smaller. To disappear. Then the bedroom door creaked. Slow. Agonizing. I didn't wait. I bolted for the front door, yanked off the chain, turned the deadbolt. And it wouldn't open. It was stuck. I twisted harder. Pulled. The knob refused to move. It was like it had been jammed, rigged from the inside. Behind me, the floor creaked again. I turned. And saw him. A man. Standing at the edge of the hallway. Gaunt. Greasy. Pale. Shirtless. Holding a screwdriver in one hand and a bundle of rope in the other. He didn't say a word. Didn't rush me. He just smiled. Like he'd been waiting. Like he was enjoying the fear. Adrenaline kicked in, and I grabbed a lamp and smashed it against the window. Glass flew everywhere, and I started climbing through, slicing my leg on the way out. I hit the pavement outside barefoot, bleeding, screaming as loud as I could. A neighbor opened their door, and within minutes, police were there. But the man? Gone. Completely vanished. No trace. The apartment had no signs of forced entry, because he didn't break in. He came through the window. They found smudged fingerprints on the sill, and a trail of blood, not mine, leading to the bathroom vent. It looked like he'd been hiding in the crawlspace above my ceiling. There were food wrappers in the attic. A blanket. A flashlight. He had been living there. Watching me. Waiting for the right night. Police said he had likely been inside my apartment for at least 3 days. Moving only when I left. The hallway light. He turned it off while I was gone. The milk. He drank from it and put it back. My toothbrush. Wet. Even though I hadn't used it. He was trying to blur the line between normal and wrong. Trying to see how far he could go before I noticed. Trying to break me without touching me. They never caught him. Never identified him. No fingerprints in the system. No DNA hits. Nothing. But I still remember his face. That smile. The way he held the rope. The casual way he stood there, like it wasn't the first time. I moved. Got a dog. Put cameras in every room. But to this day, when I hear a floorboard creak or a cabinet close on its own,